Okay, now that we're reaching the end of the month and you're getting more comfortable with Perforce, we're going to talk about Reconcile offline work. Bum, bum, bum. So this action is very, very helpful, but can definitely cause problems if you rely on it all the time. So we're going to definitely take some time to talk about what this action actually does and how you should be using it. All right, so this is an action designed to be used when you don't have a stable internet connection. So, you lose power or you're in a remote area, but you still want to work on a project or you still have things you need to get done. You're still able to work on your files that are on the depot, and then when you get an internet connection back, you're able to sync back up to the depot. All right, so that's what it's in actual use is for. You can see right in the name, offline work. Right? So what this action is actually doing is going to compare the files on your computer with what is on the depot. Right? It's going to scan through the folder that you choose and look for anything that's missing, look for anything that's different, and look for anything that's new. And it's going to add those files in the change list. So it's basically going to take what you have on the workspace and sync it up to make it match what's on the depot. So that sounds really nice and helpful, but it can be very dangerous, and it can be very destructive if you don't understand what files you actually changed and what file you're reconciling from. So when you're working with Unity specifically and you're using this action, reconcile offline work, it should only be performed at the highest level from the assets or the project settings folder. Right? If we go any higher, if we go to the root project folder and we just say reconcile offline work, that's going to find this new folder, right? It's going to find this folder called the library and say, hey, that library folder, that's not on the depot. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that for add. And if you reconcile and it gets marked for add, some of you might already know what happens when your library folder's on the depot, right? But bad things. We don't want that folder on the depot. So if we select assets and right-click reconcile offline work, it's going to scan the whole assets folder for things that are missing, things that have been updated, things that are new. And it's going to mark them for add, mark them for delete, or check them out based on what it found, right? So never go higher than the assets or project settings folder. My advice to you when using reconcile offline work is make sure that you're reconciling from the folder that contains the changes, right? So go as low as you can. If you have a folder that's your prefabs folder or you have your entryway folder, right-click on that and reconcile offline work. Don't do it from the highest folder possible. Make sure you know what files you're changing when you're working in Unity. All right, so this, just to reiterate, this is definitely an advanced action that you don't want to use as your main workflow. Every once and again, if things aren't working as intended, like if I have things on my computer and my teammate, they aren't seeing the exact same things on the depot, I can use reconcile offline work to catch any files I might have missed from adding to the depot correctly, or things I might have adjusted that I didn't check out. But still, make sure that you are being comfortable with mark for add, mark for delete, and check out. Because if you're not understanding those core actions and you try to use this advanced action, you're going to run into problems. All right? So just remember, whatever it is you're going to change, before you start working, check out that file or check out that folder that contains those files, and then start to work inside of Unity and then submit. Also remember, you can use revert unchanged files, so you can check out a large group of files and then just use revert unchanged to leave you with the files you actually changed. But don't use reconcile offline work as a main workflow. You'll see in this activity you're going to get exposure to it, but again, just make sure that you're still checking out the files you want to change. All right, so in this image here, this is what the reconcile offline work window actually looks like. So you can select a folder. So here I selected my assets folder and I just hit right click reconcile offline work, and this is what it found. So it breaks it up into 3 windows, and make sure you actually look at what Perforce found. Don't just come down here and hit the reconcile button, because that's when bad things can happen. So in this top window, these are files that Perforce found that said, hey, these are in the depot, but they're different in your workspace. So what we're going to do is we're going to check out those files. If you see things in here that you don't want to actually change, like say for example your scraps intro scene, or things you don't want to actually be modifying, just uncheck that file so it's not going to be checked out. This middle section down here, Perforce found and said, hey, these are all files that are in your workspace, but I don't see them anywhere in the depot. So we're going to mark all these files for add. All right, down below is saying Perforce says, hey, these files are in the depot, but these are missing from your workspace. Sometimes what I see happen with teams and even on individual levels is you're working in Unity and you move your files to a different folder. And then all of a sudden you go to Perforce and Reconcile offline work, and then Perforce has marked those files for delete, right? Because it can't find them anymore, and it's going to delete the ones that are on the depot. So make sure that you're reviewing each one of these windows and only selecting the files you actually want to submit the changes for. Okay? When you hit this Reconcile button, this is when it actually is going to send these files to a change list. So these will be checked out. These middle ones will be marked for add. The bottom ones will be marked for delete. And then you can go ahead and submit your change list as is. So it can definitely be a helpful action. Right, it can definitely come in handy from time to time, but still get comfortable with checking out the files you want to change, and it helps best communicate to your teammates what files it is you're changing.